Hey guys, sorry. Going live now. Alrighty. So, good morning. Hi. Thank you. A little late today. Sorry about that, and sorry for all the fan noise as well. The air quality is just very bad today, so the air purifier just turned on itself, and yeah. So in this video, I am going to talk about does your child need oral motor exercises, or just in general, does your speech therapy right now, does it need to have any oral motor in it? All right, and the real answer is it really depends. Okay, but today we're going to talk about more about why people do it, why therapists use it, and if you need to, if your child needs it. Okay. So the number one reason why you need oral motor therapy is that there is actually
Okay. So
so there's sorry, there's an echo. So there's actually a weakness in some sort of oral motor muscles around here. Like you can see that there is a weakness. Okay. So for instance, if you see that there is a weakness in the lips, that they cannot close it nicely, that's number one. And if you are having, sorry, my cat is, sorry. So, where was I? Yeah, I was saying how there's a weakness in the muscles, right? So this is what we call dysarthria. All right, this is what we call dysarthria, and dysarthria is basically there's a weakness in muscles that help you do speech. So, for instance, the lungs, that might be dysarthria because you need air to go out. Okay, but the most important muscles for speech is actually the jaw, lip, and the tongue. Okay, if there is, let me move my thing a little bit. Cool. If there is actually if there is actually a weakness, and how do you identify a weakness? Okay, so number one, does your child drool? Okay, does your child drool? This also might be something that you will have to look at yourself. Okay, does your child drool? If your child drools, then what are you gonna do? My bad. Yeah. All right. So if your child drools, there's a few reasons why. It's not just only about oral motor. Okay. It might be sensory issues, but we'll get into that real soon. Can your child eat properly? Like does food come out of their mouth? You know, when they chew, are they able to chew hard stuff? Foods of different textures, right? Can your child actually blow a whistle? You know, can they blow bubbles? All that kind of stuff. So if your jaw, lip, and tongue is actually weak, and it actually impedes, meaning it actually affects your child using speech, then yes, you'll do oral motor. And it takes a lot of actual assessment to actually know if your child needs it. Okay, and the reason why I want to do this video is because recently I've been going into Facebook groups to answer some questions, and someone told me about like, oh, my child might have apraxia of speech, and so I want to do oral motor for him or her, right? So, but the thing is, I cannot give a good answer because you never know that a child has, if they have apraxia of speech, do they have some sort of weakness in their muscles? You know, they could be very strong in their muscles around the mouth, but they just cannot put sounds in order, the muscle patterns in order to make a speech sound. Okay, so is there a need for your child to do oral motor? Yeah, of course. It's like doing, what's that called? It's like doing exercises for your whole general body. Of course, there's nothing bad about it, right? There's nothing bad. There's nothing gonna happen if you keep on doing it. I mean, there's nothing bad that's gonna happen. There's only good things that will happen. That's why a lot of the times, therapists like to do it. And number two is therapists like to do it because it's measurable. Number one, and when parents see that you're actually moving their mouths and doing exercises, it feels like they're going somewhere. Okay, it feels like they're going somewhere. So it's measurable, like how many times you're doing it, what's the resistance of doing it. There's like tools of different like tightness and textures that you can chew, you can like push, or whatever. It's very measurable. It makes sense for parents to understand. Oh yeah, we're working on a jaw. We're working on the lips. We're working on the tongue. These things it makes sense for private practitioners like myself to actually do, because you can actually see the results. You can see that there's an improvement, right? You can see that, slowly. Yeah, he used to bite that chewy tube, the red chewy tube, and now he's at yellow or something. And then there is progress that you can report, okay? So that's one of the reasons why therapists use it. And also the reason that parents ask for it is because they see other children doing it and they think that their child needs it. But to be honest, your child only needs it if there's really a muscle weakness that makes speech impossible, okay? I have a client who is drooling, who cannot chew hard foods, who has a lot of weakness in the tongue, okay? But still, she can speak normally. Well, it took her a long time. And most probably, everyone says it's apraxia of speech. I really do not know. I don't want to comment on it. But if anyone saw her at a hospital or whatever, which did happen, the speech therapist there will give her like oral motor exercises. And that's exactly what happened too. But the thing is, she couldn't do it, but she could speak words. So it goes to say that, a muscle weakness doesn't equal to inability of speech. You should only do oral motor when the muscle weakness directly correlates towards the inability to say certain sounds. All right, let me give you an example. So I've been always saying the L sound. The L sound is probably, I'm not entirely sure, don't quote me on this, as much as I'm a speech therapist, but sometimes I just don't take the time to fact check. But it tells me from experience that the L sound is really the furthest place a tongue needs to be in order to say this L sound. Okay, so when does muscle weakness impede, like it reduces the ability to say a sound, is when their tongue cannot go up to the top part of the mouth, which we call the alveolar ridge. All right, and at that point, when they cannot touch up, there's a few sounds that will be affected, right? The L sound, the N sound, the T sound, the D sound, and maybe the J sound, maybe. Okay, so these sounds, and the ch sound, by the way, so CH if you spell it in English. These sounds, they all need the tongue to be up there. So if your child cannot do it, there's a muscle weakness in your tongue going up, right? There's a muscle weakness. There's a limit of range of their tongue. Then they need to do oral motor. And you might ask me, hey, how about tongue timing? We're not talking about tongue tie today. If you want to, you can go to my YouTube or Facebook, wherever. You can search for tongue tie agents of speech. And inside the channel, there's a video that I think I did quite well. A pat on my back. I think it's pretty obvious what a tongue tie is after I've made that video. So you can check that out. But today we're talking about oral motor. So oral motor I actually use for general sounds, like certain sounds, but not the whole thing. All right. And I want to tell you guys the reason why. All right. It might be long-winded, but you guys have to listen to it. And this is the fact, not really the fact, but this is what I've learned throughout the years. If you do oral motor, if you do oral motor, just oral motor, I don't care what it is. Like you're biting, and I don't know, you're pucking your lips and spreading it, that kind of stuff. You must you must have a target in your mind. Okay, what kind of speech are you looking for? Are you trying to do for your child? If you're doing it just for the sake of doing it, then don't do it. Okay, because you're just doing something for no meaning. Okay, let me give you an example that I always use. So, for instance, if you're learning to play basketball, okay, let's say you're playing basketball, and then you are learning how to shoot a basketball, right? So if you are just doing the pattern, the movement of pretending to shoot a basketball over and over and over again without actually shooting a basketball, then what you're getting good at is just this motion, right? That means you'll never get good at shooting a basketball. You're only good at pretending the motion. And the same as oral motor. If you only do like the biting, the pucking, the spreading, or whatever, without a clear goal, then your child is only getting better at pucking their lips and spreading their lips and biting and stuff, right? So if you are right now in a therapy, I know you guys aren't because of the virus situation, but I know that some places therapy has resumed, which is cool, but be safe, guys. Remember, wear a mask if you're inside as a parent. The therapist should try to use a face screen thing and everything like that, and spray your feet and your shoes. Okay, outside of the topic. If you're inside a therapy right now and the therapist is doing oral motor therapy for your child without a certain aim, they cannot tell you what sounds they're shooting for, and you cannot see that they're trying to like generalize towards that sound, then you should be careful, okay? And usually it's like this. The reason why we do oral motor is, number one, if there's a weakness, we fix it, right? Number two is that they need to know the sensory of how the mouth moves without the speech. Just like pretending to shoot a basketball. Without the basketball, we know that the path should be straight. So we practice it a few times, and then we use a ball and really shoot it, and hopefully it goes in, right? So with oral motor, you practice the pattern of moving your mouth without saying the speech. So it's easier, right? And it tells you where it needs to be, okay? And it tells you where it needs to be. It tells you the sensory. And that's why talking and speaking is a motor and a sensory thing. You need both. It's both moving and it's also sensing, okay? And it gets pretty technical, and pretty much I didn't know this when I just graduated, okay? This is from like reading books afterwards and taking classes and listening to senior therapists talk about it. There's sensory is a big part in saying words and speech, okay? So if your therapist right now is just doing those like that without like telling you, okay, well, I'm shooting for this sound. The reason why is because, I think there's a jaw instability. By the way, that's the number one thing that they say. Oh, there's a jaw instability. Oh no, we're going to work on the jaw first. You have to be careful. So what are they aiming for after the jaw instability? Right? Obviously, the more muscular your jaw, the better for a number of reasons. You can chew better. You look better. You have a sharper chin. Doesn't mean you speak better. So you have to be careful. All right. So I use oral motor exercises when there is a certain sound that I'm shooting for. Okay. Most probably I do not use it as a whole way to make speech more clear, because it just doesn't make sense. All right. So what kind of oral motor you can do, right? Can you do at home? So the number one most sought after, not sought after, but most understood and most used and therapists like the most is actually talk tools. I've had clients in this city, Jakarta, who has been to USA, who has been to Singapore, who has been to Australia, come back with like a bunch of talk tools. And don't get me wrong, I'm never like pooping on, I'm never saying bad stuff about my colleagues, about other therapists, all right? I just think that sometimes it's miscommunicated because they don't have enough time, okay? And that's why I'm taking the time to do lives like this well before the pandemic. Just because if you come to me as well, I have 45 minutes around to do stuff with your child. You come all the way, especially in Jakarta with all the traffic. I really appreciate it, right? And then if I take a lot of time to talk to you and teach you about stuff, then it's kind of not good. So I want to do my part and also teach you. But the practical thing is some parents are really okay with me teaching the whole hour to the parent, and for them to try on their child. But, the matter of fact is a lot of parents, they don't like it. They're not used to it. They feel like they paid money for my time to do something about it. So that's why I'm doing these kind of stuff, so that you know exactly where I'm coming from and so that we're aligned and you can do it yourself at home if you're okay with it and you understand, okay? So a lot of them come back with talk tools, the whole set. And usually the whole set, it's not cheap, man. It's like, how much was it? It was $100 for a whole box, I think. Yeah, for like the straws, the horns, which are like just blowing stuff, the chewy tubes, the jaw, what's that called? The bite blocks, everything, all those stuff added together is quite expensive. But do you need all of it? Probably not. Okay. So unfortunately, I left all my talk tools in the clinic. So with the lack of tools here, I'll just talk about what they're for and why you should use it. Okay. So talk tools, a lot of if you're in Southeast Asia, be careful. A lot of people use talk tools without actually going through the course. Okay, I myself, I have, and it's a bad thing because talk tools in itself is a business. Okay, it's a business. So when you go through it as a speech therapist or a speech pathologist, whatever you call it, you need to pay up. So for me, I paid around $1,000 to get level 1 and 2 of talk tools, which is okay. It's not a lot of money, but the good thing about it is now I know where they're coming from, and how they think about oral motor, right? And there's like level 1, 2, and then 3, 4, and 5 or something. I don't know. Once you're at like 3, 4, and 5, you become kind of like a instructor where you can teach other people talk tools for money or something. I don't know. So it does all those speech therapy courses are kind of like that. You pay to learn, and then once you learn enough, you can be paid to teach, something like that. Okay, just to get you guys clear on it, and you guys are on the same page. Okay, so if you are in Southeast Asia or any other country and your therapist is using it, but they don't have the certification or the education to do it, be careful. Okay, so do they understand the whole thing? That you don't know. Only someone else who has done it can judge. Okay. So talk tools, the whole thing, the true name for talk tools, not the true name, but the full name is actually oral placement therapy, OPT, oral placement therapy. The reason for talk tools isn't to strengthen, it is to strengthen the jaw lift and the tongue muscles, but it's also to tell kids or adults or anyone the placement, where to put their tongue, jaw, lip in order to make those sounds, right? So once you know that, once you use the talk tools as a way to guide the mouth towards the right place, then the whole thing shifts away from, how many times can they do it? Like, are they able to how strong are they? Do they still do a lot of jaw sliding or jutting or whatever you call it? I forgot the names. Okay. Well, whilst that is very important, you only see that during speech and during when they do that certain task. Okay. And always when you're doing talk tools, there must be a target sound that you try to do afterwards. So let's say that you're learning how to blow. Okay, learning how to blow. And I've seen it many times, man. some centers, I'm not going to name anyone or like bad mouth anyone, is that they try to blow things that are, they try to blow, teach a child to blow something that isn't very functional. And I'm okay with that as long as they're doing some sort of like, it's building towards a sound, but they don't have the sound, all right? And their rationale, the rationale meaning the reason for it is that, they don't have enough air support, right? They don't have enough air support to talk long because the kid talks like very choppy. And they separate the syllables like this, right? Like they talk like, I want to go to the toilet, like that. And then they do blowing, which I'm not a big fan of at all. There's a million reasons why there's syllable separation. There's also a whole load of reasons why they're chopping, but they're actually they're not thinking about why they cannot speak in a smooth and fluent way. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And blowing might not be the answer, especially when if your child can actually like scream and shout in the long way, like they can go ah for a long time, and they're still doing blowing, then I don't think it's correct. Okay, so as a parent, you have to be careful about that. So recently, I had a few emails coming to me asking about talk tools and how they should do it at home. And my immediate answer is don't do it. Just don't do it, because you wouldn't know how to do it, number one. Number two, you would try and you would fail and you would think talk tools don't work. It may or may not be true, depending on the situation, right? And number three is that if you try at home without any guidance, it's going to be super hard to know what's going on, okay? So when it comes to talk tools, you need to have a target sound. Let me go back to blowing, okay? Well, if you're teaching blowing, the common mindset about blowing is that it retracts the tongue, all that kind of that theory about, when you blow hard, your tongue goes back like this, like that. So when the tongue goes back like that, there are some sounds that do the same. So if, for instance, like the K and the G and the NGs, like K, G, and the Ng, all these three sounds, apparently, the tongue goes back, which is true. And when you do blowing, your tongue goes back as well. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to make the child know, okay, so when your tongue goes back, then when you do the K, remember your tongue it's around that place. So try to do that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And the K, the tongue going back, is super hard to prompt, because if you try to tell them, like you point something inside their mouth, like right at back, what are they gonna do? They're gonna gag, right? And when they're gagging, it's not that cool. It's a bad experience. Wait, I need to turn off the thing. It's too loud. Sorry. All right, much better. Thank God. Okay. So, where was I? Yeah, Monday morning, we're going back. We're still talking about like oral motor today. So oral motor, how you should structure it, how you should see a therapist structure it. Not saying that it's only with me. You should look at other therapists if they're doing it or not. Okay, I can tell you that this should be the way, right? Are they doing this? Are they pairing the oral motor activity with the sound? So how do you do it? So first of all, they need to do the therapy. They need to do the oral motor, right? So for instance, they might blow. I don't know what they're blowing. They might be doing a horn that goes like that, right? So they do it for like 10 or I don't know how many times that they do it for. I don't really care how many times, but what I do care is what comes afterwards, right? So after they blow, are they going to change to a certain sound? So for instance, blow 10 times or something like that. The next thing they should do is actually to try to get the child to say that sound. So after blowing 10 times at a horn or whatever they call it, a whistle or a recorder or something, and then they try to do the sound. So for instance, they do boop, boop, boop 10 times, and then the next time they do 10 times of the K sound, ka, 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 something like that. So at the very least, if that happens, then you know that they're actually doing the oral motor for a reason. Okay. So by the way, at any time, if you guys have questions about like the topic today, you can just tell me. All right. I can go on about this topic for a long, long time simply because I've been using it. I've been using oral motor as well. I'm not the type of therapist that says no to oral motor, but I'm also not the type of person to say to do oral motor for everything. Okay. Because there are a lot of them around in the world that no matter how your child is, they would do oral motor. Okay. Which comes back full circle. I think that number one, it's easy to persuade people, especially in Asia, that they're doing something about the child if they're really practicing something with their mouths when it's speech therapy. Obviously, you gotta do something about the mouth, right? If you're doing like physiotherapy, you're like pushing weights or something. If you're doing occupational therapy, you're like kicking balls and writing and doing like hand grip exercises. If you're doing speech therapy, of course, you're gonna strengthen your lips, right? And your jaw. Well, the fact is not really, okay? Not really at all. And a lot of my opinion always, like, it's been changing a lot. It's been changing a lot, especially with the client I was talking about who has oral motor issues, who cannot do certain things with her mouth. But in the end, she can talk fluently. So does oral motor help? Yes, but you have to do it correctly, okay? So let's go on from top tools. I've been talking about that too much. I'll summarize it a little bit. What I mean to say is that do it by all means if someone who knows about it, whether or not from their job or that they learned from a senior therapist or they've been to the workshop like myself, then listen to them and think about what they're trying to do with the talk tools, okay? And then you have to remember that talk tools is also a business, right? That you have to buy the tools, and the therapy center is still selling the tools. And that is also a very easy way to measure whether your child is improving or not. It's just that from the exercise towards speech, are they doing the bridge? If they are, then fair enough, good enough. Then go ahead with it, you know? All right, so the next thing I do want to talk about is just general oral motor. So, which is still true, by the way. So any oral motor exercise that happens outside the mouth, especially for the tongue, you gotta be careful, okay? For instance, the retraction of a lip for the F sound, all right? I used to do this, but at my clinic, some parents tell me, oh yeah, they've been working on the F sound. And I need to say again, I'm not saying that the other therapists are doing it wrong or anything. I just feel like there's a better way of doing it, okay? I'm not saying that they're not helping. They are helping. That's why they've been able to do it. It's just they cannot do it in normal speech though. So for instance, the F sound, the retraction of the lip, if they're doing like an oral motor like this, which I've never seen in books, but it does happen, by the way. This one, think about it. We never go that far for speech. We do not go like, have you eaten food today? Or like, do you like to play football? We never do that. We never speak like that. If you have to put your lip under every time and speak like that, you'll speak very slow because every time you do that, you have to tuck your lip under. And I get the argument is that, oh, you got to do it like very exaggerated first, and then you can do it naturally, right? Yeah. When you started to learn walking, did you like learn like that, like with your legs going up? No, man. You learn with small steps. So as long as you get the sound correct, you get the job done. I don't care. You don't need to go that far. So usually, if I teach the F sound, which is kind of like what's that called? It's like an easy sound to teach, especially in speech therapy. It's an easy win for parents as well. What you do is actually you just blow. You just teach your child to blow, establish some airflow, and then you press here and it becomes an F, right? If you're doing the traditional way of teaching like speech sounds, then you would like just establish the wind flow, like, and there you go. And there's a little spread lips there, right? So you got to understand that as long as you can help your child get to that sound the most easiest, fastest way possible, the more likely that they'll be able to do it in real life. All right, the more likely they'll be able to do it in real life. Okay, so the other one is the M sound. So how many of you guys, if you are in therapy, you tell me, leave a comment and let me know, is that they're trying to do like like an M sound, but the therapist or like you are exaggerating your mouth shape like this. Hey, follow me, mommy, something like that, right? So think about it again, the same as the F sound. If you exaggerate your mouth shape like that, it's not going to help you. It's not going to help you, because every time your child tries to talk and you teach your child to talk in that way, every time he calls your name, he calls for you. He calls for you. Yeah, my cat actually has a speech sound disorder, I think. He cannot meow properly. Anyways, so if you teach the M sound like that, then it's going to become like this. Mama, mama, like that. And they'll be labored and slow. And it takes a long time for them to say any words with the M sound, okay? So don't do it. Just don't do it. It needs to be natural. And I see a lot of people, I used to do this as well. They put like a popsicle stick and they tell the child to like do that, which is fair enough, by the way. Just don't make them, just don't do this. Don't do, let me try to find something that I can bite on. All right. Let's say this one is it's a mouse-shaped cue thing. Anyways, let's say this is the popsicle stick and you do this, right? Don't pull on it. Don't pull on it and try to increase the strength. Okay, don't do like that. It doesn't matter. They already closed their mouths. All right, if they can close their mouths, they make a sound. That's going to be the M sound already. Okay, so don't go into the trap that you must do the strength training for their mouths. It's not really the case, man. It really isn't. All right. So with that said, the reason for oral motor is so that they can naturally progress into like normal speech sounds. So you want to teach it the most natural way. If you haven't, you have to slowly decrease and get rid of those cues, as I talked about, like fading. And fading is important for all kinds of therapy, man. Like no matter if it's physiotherapy, occupational therapy, ABA therapy, speech therapy, we all talk about getting rid of cues because it's not natural. We're here to help, but slowly we decrease it until at a time where your child can do it him or herself. Okay. So let me know if you have any questions, all right, up till now. And thank you for tuning in. It really means a lot for me. You're watching these live videos that are very, very low budget, all right? Very, very low budget. But at the same time, I just ramble on about a certain topic, which I kind of do sometimes for workshops that I go to for other therapists. I like that format more, whereas when I go to listen to other therapists, they're very structured and they have the PowerPoint and stuff. But I think that you learn the most when I talk about my experiences and stories and I get your questions, and then I solve those questions or problems with solutions, and you get to look at my thinking, which is kind of hard to do as a therapist, to be honest. Like, it's hard to be challenged, and I want to be challenged. If you're a therapist as well, you're not just a parent or a really experienced parent with a lot of training under the belt, and I've seen a few already. If you have any questions and you think that whatever I'm saying is just rubbish or just bullcrap, then go ahead and tell me so that we can have a good discussion about what it really is that we're missing together, okay? I think it's very important that we stay open-minded in this day and age, because all the information is at the tip of your fingers, and everyone's opinion can be seen online. And that's why good information spreads, but bad information spreads faster. All right. Things that are saying like, oh, this is impossible, that this will work, or like, oh, you should do oral motor, or oral motor sucks, everything like that. It spreads like wildfire. But yet the stuff that works, the stuff that is like, the advice that works are the techniques and the skills and the stuff that you need to keep on doing on a daily basis to make it work. And because it's so slow, the results are slow, number one. And number two, you're learning yourself as well as a parent or as a therapist. It takes time to understand how to keep momentum in therapy going. It also becomes frustrating. And those things never get reported online. All you see is, oh, it doesn't work, I tried it already. But how do you even know how much they tried, or how much, or how they tried it? They never documented it, right? That's why I'm trying to document all my online clients and try to share with you the results and the training involved that I asked them to do under the consent, right? Under the consent. I'm not trying to just show you everything that I do. And I hope that it makes more sense. All right, so I got a question. So let's see. She says, hi. Let me try to get this name right. Milka. Hi, Milka. Milka. Yeah. Hi, Mingfeng. Thank you for sharing. My 4-year-old daughter I felt got a little delayed in her speech. From where I know it is delayed, or is it because she needs the oral motor therapy? Cool. So you see, if you ask me a question like that, I have to ask you back questions, right? So the easiest answer for you is go get an assessment, right, from someone that you can trust. Doesn't need to be me, because I'm not open anyways. I cannot really see your child. But if you want to know a little bit delayed, there are some sounds that are actually easily, like, they shouldn't have it yet, right? So there's some sounds that they shouldn't have it yet. So for instance, the S sound, S, like S, like that, the sh, the SH sound, these sounds are typically, it's okay for them not to have these sounds if they are not at 5 years old yet. So there are some sounds online where you can find, and it can tell you that, okay, if your child doesn't have these certain sounds, it's okay. It might be just a delay, meaning they haven't acquired those specific speech sounds yet, okay? So that's one way of how you actually see if it's actually delayed, okay? And at no point I would ever say that your child needs oral motor therapy. At no point, all right? And the reason why is all the rambling I've been doing for the past 40 minutes, but I won't bore you with that. I'll just tell you the answer, all right? So if your child needs oral motor therapy, then there must be some weakness around their mouths, the jaw, lip, and the tongue, that makes it impossible for her to make certain sounds, okay? For instance, if your child cannot do the L sound, the L sound, a weakness in the tongue, but not being able to go up to that place might be the reason. And you might want to do a little bit oral motor on the tongue, right? Some more oral motor exercises with the tongue, okay? So there are certain sounds that I would definitely try if they can do it. So a good rule of thumb is, Melka, is that you want to see if your child can do the tongue left and right, okay? Just like this. Just like that. Just to check if the coordination is good and there's nothing wrong, right? So a lot of times if the child cannot do an L sound or the N sound, all the sounds that require the tongue to go up, then they usually, right? Take this with a grain of salt, okay? They usually cannot go left, right like that. Do not do any oral motor that goes outside of the mouth like this. No speech sounds require your tongue to be outside, okay? No speech sounds require your lips to be over or under your mouth, okay? So hopefully that will answer the question. But to be honest, you really need to know what sounds your child can and cannot do, okay? There are some sounds that do not need oral motor to help them. Okay, in general, oral motor is something that a lot of is overplayed, as what I mean, overused for no particular reason, no good reason at all. All right, so don't go into that first. Try other methods before you try oral motor, because it's somewhere where you don't know how to get out of. Okay, so thanks for your question, Melka. I hopefully have answered your questions. You just need to know what kind of sounds she is missing. All right, because you said she's a little bit delayed in her speech. So what kind of sounds are missing? Or are you mixing up speech and language? Okay, speech is the accuracy of saying the sounds, meaning you can just call it pronunciation. I don't like to use it, right? It might be the speech problems are when they cannot pronounce certain sounds that, there's errors in the speech. For instance, if they cannot do the L sound, then they might substitute with the Y, like they turn to yike, right? If they cannot do the S and they try to say like shop, oh no, that's the SH. I'm so sorry. So they try to say something like size, but they can't do the S sound. They might die like that. They turn into a T or something. Okay, so that speech. Language is where they need to tell you a certain thing, but they just cannot make a good sentence. The pronunciation is good, right? But they just kind of they don't really answer a question nicely. They don't know how to say it correctly in a nice sentence. That's usually language. Okay, thanks for your question. It's very nice. If you guys at any time have any questions, just feel free to go and tell me. All right. I really like answering your questions, so just let me know. That was an excellent question. Okay, so when in the time should you consider oral motor therapy? Actually, none of the time, to be honest. I really think that you shouldn't even think about it unless you've tried other things. Okay, or oral motor stuff hasn't been popular in a long time. It only has become rather popular recently. All right, and the reason behind it again is I'm going to recap again, is because it makes people think that they're doing something. All right, it's like a small step towards speech, and if you don't, and it obviously in therapy the best way you do it is to chop the things that they cannot do in the smaller steps in order to get there. Then non-speech oral motor can be a solution, but never ever consider oral motor as the first thing you should do. Okay, because it's not communicative. It doesn't help the child. It's not something that you're teaching for them to communicate. It's something for them to do gymnastics or strengthen muscles for no particular reason. Okay, so I'm ending this live rather early, 10 minutes before. Usually I'm here for a whole hour. From 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Jakarta time, WIB. And I do this on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Yeah, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you watching this on a recording, you can actually just type in all your questions down below. I am on both Facebook and YouTube. Obviously, Facebook, you're going to get a little better image quality because I'm using my phone, whereas YouTube, I'm using my laptop, which kind of sucks, the webcam. So you can catch me both ways, ask me questions on both platforms. And this content is dictated by you. Whenever I get a bunch of questions about a certain topic, I'm going to make it into a live video for you guys. Okay. And the format is not for you to just listen for a whole hour. Obviously, that'd be nice. But at the same time, I want you guys to have any questions. You can tell me in advance or during, if you can, to come on and ask me anything that you want, okay? And it can be anything, literally anything. It could be directly about your own child. But you have to give me more information for me to give you a better answer. Questions that are like, oh, how do I teach yes and no? Yeah, those I can answer. Like, oh, how can I teach communication? Now that I really need more info about how your child is, because I can go on about this for, there's a whole book on it. There's a whole like master's program. There's a whole PhD, people writing about this kind of stuff. But you got to be specific. All right, I understand that sometimes you as a parent, you just want this answer, but you got to be specific about what is happening at home so that I can tell you what to try. Okay, so thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for your questions. If you have any more, just put it down. Remember to like it, and if you're on YouTube, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and if you're on Facebook, like it and share it. Okay, it means a lot to me. It means a lot to me that you would actually watch such a low production live and enjoy it. Okay, so thanks so much, and I will see you on Friday 9 a.m. Friday 9 a.m. WIB, which is 10 p.m. EST if you're in anywhere other than Asia, where EST is easier for you to understand. Okay, so see you guys. Thanks so much, and I'll catch you later. Bye.